Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Fair Life with Andrew McKee. And yes, it is almost the end of my Fair season. Originally, I was thinking this might be the last episode, but I don't think it is. I'm going to try to do another one next week because I'm also doing one more one more Fair event. I'm going to be at the Yule Festival at Sherwood next Saturday, so sort of the winter Celtic festival they're doing. And yeah, so that will be so I'm going to try to do another one next Monday. So this isn't the last one. So yeah, that's the little things sometimes. And hey, Damaris and Kurt and Nancy and Tim and Kevin, thanks for joining. Yes, it is been a long year. I'm not going to reflect too much on the year, maybe a little bit here or there, but it has it's been an interesting year to say the least. And Harvey, Dan, hey, yeah, great to see you. This is I have enjoyed the last weekend getting to see a few of a few of you out at Fair, and that's been great. And and yes, yes, David. As a matter of fact, we are going to be playing some music together. I don't think all of the shows, but I think we have at least two. Is that right? I think two shows or so. Um, but yeah, we're going to be playing some together on Saturday, and that will be a lot of fun because, well, we always have a lot of fun when we play music, and that will be at. Like I said, at Sherwood, up just east of Austin, this Friday night and Saturday. I'm only going to be playing on Saturday though. Though. Wow. Sorry, it's been a long day. First of all, the end of the Louisiana Fair for me, so 6 straight weekends, but also one where I'm in charge of the sound. So, of course, today I went out to Fair site and made sure that everything was unplugged and put speakers away and set them all up for the rest of the year in the off season. It's an important thing to do if you want everything to work next year. So yeah, the little things that you do just to try to make a difference. And I don't know. As far as being in charge of sound, there's a part of me that's kind of like, I'd rather be playing music. And that's true. I mean, honestly, given a choice, I'd rather be playing music than working on sound and doing that. In this case, I'm doing both, so it's not that bad, but it's still, I am happy that I'm able to help a lot of people because the performers have been very appreciative, and that's been really nice because sometimes just having somebody there that says, no, I've got your back, we'll get you sounding good, everything will be fine, is such a novelty because not many fairs do that, for what it's worth. But now I'm seeing fairs starting to do it more, and hopefully that will continue. Yeah, 2 shows, and 2:15 and 7:30. There we go. So, yeah, I haven't looked at the schedule yet. I mean, I took a quick glance before weeks ago, but yeah, I'm going to look at it this week and get a good idea. It's, yeah, I think my first show isn't until after 11. So it's going to be weird. I'm used to having to play at 9 or 10 a.m. or something, and this is actually going to be pretty easy compared to a regular fair day. It is, but of course, it's kind of on the cusp of fair. It's really, it goes along with that trend that fairs are starting to do of doing some sort of a winter festival in the off season in December to have an excuse for everybody to come back out to the fair site. And it's an interesting concept, and it's starting to catch on and be more prevalent. I mean, what do you all think? Do you like having these winter festivals at the fairs that you go to during the year? Or do you think it's, I don't want to go out there when it's cold kind of attitude where it doesn't make much sense to you? I mean, I can see kind of both sides of it, but for the fairs, I think a lot of it is that they really like, I mean, they have these permanent sites. They often own the land, not always, but when they do, it's just sitting there idle when they don't have fair. And it's easy to think of it as a bit of a waste. So having something to do is nice. And oh, hey, Kathy, thanks for joining. David's doing Christmas carols. Oh, that's nice. Set at 5:15. That could be fun. I might have to get in on that. Ah, yeah. I know it depends on how it fits with your schedule because, if it's very late, like that, some of these are going on until like the 21st, 22nd of December. And that is, I mean, that's starting to get into vacation time when it's not as easy to head out there. So I don't know. I don't know. Most of them seem to be going to about the 15th of December, not going too late. But there are a couple that are trying to push it. I mean, I think the Dickens ones makes more sense to go that late and to kind of push it along next to Christmas because of the association Charles Dickens has with Christmas. No, that's a good point, Damaris. Having more gigs, yeah, always nice to have the option. So there is definitely that. And yeah, it depends on how cold. I totally see that too. That is very, yeah. I mean, there is a point where I really can't play music very easily because my fingers just don't move that fast when it's that cold. I mean, I might be able to get away with a minute or two of doing that, but after that, they just don't listen as well. Generally, I never run into that because most of the fairs I do don't hit those temperatures, even close to it. But for me, it seems to be somewhere, as long as it's over 32 degrees, I'm usually can get by and be okay. But when it hits that freezing point, yeah, it gets a little rough. It really does. Really interesting, huh? Well, I mean, maybe there is a lot more demand than I would think for it. I mean, I guess part of the thing is people tend to, that's their vacation. They're kind of taking time off, and the closer you get to the end of December, the more people are just looking for things to do. So that makes sense. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think Louisiana would probably do it, except they kind of do it already just because of when they are in November and December. They kind of hit that. And of course, they also put on a great fireworks display the last weekend. And it's a first-rate one. If you like fireworks, you would like this. It is really good. I'm not a huge fireworks fan personally, and even I'm a bit impressed. So yeah, and yeah, more music is definitely a great thing. And you're right, Lisa. Texas certainly. I mean, that's kind of where you find these a lot of the times. A lot of the late winter fairs you're going to find more in the South, and you'll see it on the map here in a little bit when I show you what fairs are going on this coming up weekend. The Florida, Southern California, Texas, that type of thing is where you tend to find them. But we're also seeing some interesting winter festivals in the north, where it's probably going to be pretty cold, but they already have the site, they already have the infrastructure, and they're going for it. So it's kind of interesting to see how that progresses, and if it's a trend that continues. I mean, at first I thought several years ago there was a tendency to start doing Viking festivals in the late fall. When it was winter and everybody could justify putting on the Viking garb that is very usually more towards cold weather, so it made more sense. Yeah, you're right. That's it's going to be nice. We kind of got lucky, but there in Central Texas, I mean, we usually have about two weeks of winter. They're not consecutive weeks or consecutive days. I mean, you just put them all together, it's about 2 weeks of winter. But depending on your definition of winter. Yes, yes. Now that's an interesting idea, because one of the things I'm looking at doing Fair of Champions in January, and I've been trying to wrap my brain around if it gets really cold in East Texas, what do I do? Like if we have a fair day where it's 20 degrees outside, what do I do? I mean, I don't know if I can really play music for very long. I mean, maybe a little, but maybe doing an a cappella thing and doing an impromptu Christmas carol thing, Christmas carols in January. I don't know, maybe. Yeah, and it was getting a little chilly, but even that wasn't bad. I mean, I think part of it is I'm used to it now more, and a lot of it is what you're used to. You can kind of get your body used to those kind of things. I mean, before my cutoff was like when it went below 50 degrees, it was a little tougher for me to really play music. But that number has been going down steadily year to year, where I could handle 45, I could handle 40, I could handle 35. And now I'm down to about where I could handle 32 as long as the wind isn't bad. Wind chill hits me hard. It's not only an issue with just the wind really making me cold, but it's also when I play a wind instrument, like the recorder, I'm trying to blow a note out and the wind is pushing it back. So it's a level of difficulty which is really hard, really hard. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying too. Yeah, and that's one of the things that's popular, Harvey, is just you get those Christmas light things. You- I mean, they've had those for decades and decades of setting up a neighborhood with lots of Christmas lights, or a street in downtown, in the town, all decked out in Christmas lights, and everybody goes by and at night and looks at them and enjoys them. So there's certainly a lot of precedent there. Yeah, definitely. It's great seeing you too. I'm glad that worked out. I'm sorry I was in such a rush when I saw you. One of the problems yesterday was I was running around like crazy. I was telling everybody I'm getting my Faire cardio in because, I was running back and forth trying to take care of some sound things. I did certainly get a lot of music playing in, but it was a wild time. But yeah, the last several days, that was what it was. David wants in. Okay, we'll have to talk about it. Right, and that's the thing. I mean, recorder doesn't have the stringer reed problems. Guitar does. I mean, it's tough to keep it in tune, and it's certainly more likely to break some strings when you can't wear gloves on your fingertips on the recorder, or when you're playing guitar and pressing down on metal strings. And when you're cold, oh, that metal digs into your fingers even more than usual. So the calluses that normally protect you don't protect you as much. Just a little trivia there. Yeah, try to let the wind play the note, because the part of the thing with the recorder is that you need a steady stream of air. Wind is not known for being steady, and that would be the problem. But I like the thought. I like the thinking process. That's always good. uh, yeah, I know that might be a side job, and I need to set up. Yeah, frozen bard as a treat on the that I sell at my shows. I like it. That'd be funny. But no, I mean, I guess. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Harvey joined in with. We always played into day jam, and Harvey jumped in and brought his mandolin and played with us and jammed. And honestly, I mean, to be fair, we wouldn't extend that to everyone. I mean, generally, if you went off to the side and tried to play along, we wouldn't have a problem with it. But no, you get the special invitation, so don't worry. No, I do. What I've been doing was I've been double gloving it. I've been doing the fingerless gloves and then some wonderful fingerless mitts that were given to me as a gift. But yeah, those have surprisingly the gloves worked okay in the past, but doing double with the mitts and the fingerless gloves, my hands were fine over the last few weeks. No problems at all. I mean, it didn't get very cold, but still, my hands, even into the high upper 30s, no problems. And that really surprised me. So I'm very pleased about that. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing if that still holds true in January. We shall see. We shall see. But yeah, it's definitely never boring there. Definitely never boring. Okay. Yeah. Let me go ahead and give you a little bit of news of stuff that's been going on too, because it has been an interesting week news-wise. I did want to mention, I'm sure most of you are familiar with this, but a little news that's going on. Oh, actually, let me bring this back. Here we go. There, Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris is open again. This just happened last Saturday, so yeah, it is open for business, and it has been a long restoration process that with the fire that happened in 2019, that they still don't know the exact cause. They suspect an electrical fire because there were some workers doing some renovation work in there, but any evidence was, of course, totally burned. I mean, yeah, I know it screams of a conspiracy theory, and there's a part of me that just expects Dan Brown to write a book about it, the new Da Vinci Code type thing about what really happened and why it burned. I'm sure it'll happen, but the thing that's interesting about this is not only is it a very famous medieval cathedral, but the amount of money for the restoration was fairly unprecedented. They've got over $1 billion, that's with a B, in donations to restore it. That is just astonishing amounts of money for that. If you're interested, go read some articles about it because it is fascinating. It's credited with completely reinvigorating a lot of industries, especially people that are familiar with the old construction techniques and building, and how that art form was kind of dying out because there wasn't any demand for it, and the few people that knew how to do it were not getting work. So they were kind of starting to do other things. And this really reinvigorated that whole industry of classical, traditional architecture and building. And it was just, it's been an explosion of that. Steady work for 5 years for all of these experts. And it is fascinating. It's an interesting concept of a silver lining to a pretty horrific event, but which I'm sure will be in the Dan Brown book. I'm really sure. Yes, and that's very true. Actually, ever, I think, Dan, because you have to keep in mind that it took over 100 years to get it mostly built. So, and they were still working on it after that, but it was mostly built within about 100 years. So there was no point where the whole thing looked pristine and new. It didn't happen. And soot accumulates. So you had centuries of soot that was going on. Now, there were plenty of different restoration moments in history where they tried to clean it up and restore it here and there. Just in the last century and the century before, it happened multiple times. But nothing like $1 billion to restore it completely. And the whole thing looks pristine and brand new. And it's probably never looked this good. So that is just extraordinary. Yeah, very much. So if you're interested at all, I'm sure most of you have already read all about this, but for those that haven't, check it out. Most of the different news organizations, websites, whatever, have information and web pages that talk all about it and have pictures, but just it is beautiful and it is fascinating. So check that out because it is a good bit of history that is part of why we do Faire. Now, as also keep in mind that the construction's not complete. Just because it's open and the inside is pretty much done and all of that, they're still working on the grounds outside. And this is kind of interesting. And I have a few pictures on that shows, these are renderings of what it will look like in a few years. It's supposed to be done by 2027, but all the grounds outside and getting it I mean, some different construction outside to like the entrance like this. And yeah, also the river is going to be accessible from the cathedral. It didn't used to be, not since the 1800s. So definitely some cool features, and it's going to look very beautiful, very good for tourism, and really cool. So yeah, definitely something to be interested in. And so if you can't go to Paris this year or next year, it's okay. There's actually a slight reason to wait for a couple of years, so you've got an excuse. So I'm happy to give you that, and look at it when it's completely done in 2027, and that is going to be yeah, that's going to really put it up there with at a level that I think few buildings in history have ever achieved, because just the amount of money and dedication and everything into this and preservation, fairly unparalleled. So it's going to be interesting to see what it finally ends up with when it's all said and done. So yeah, something to check out and keep an eye on. Really gorgeous stuff. Yeah. Oh, and some other news going on. Now, this is a little different, but those of you who might be familiar with TikTok. Now, I don't stream on TikTok. I probably should do it more, but I've kind of gone with Facebook and YouTube primarily for what I do. But yeah, it's TikTok is kind of going through some interesting stuff where it's a step closer to getting banned in the US. For some of you who may have been following it, where they enacted a law requiring that TikTok's China-based owners have to sell the app next month or face an effective ban. And they've tried to fight it in the courts, and a US federal appeals court unanimously ruled in favor of the law and against TikTok. They're going to try to take it to the Supreme Court, and honestly, I just don't see that happening. Not in this political climate, and not with everything that's been going on. I just don't see it. So I really think unless there's some sort of a postponement, TikTok, it might be banned as soon as a month from now. Something to keep an eye on, for those of you that follow it, but mainly because we are using streaming and everything, and it is a big part of everything that we're doing. I wanted to include that as news because it is kind of relevant. So yeah. I know. A lot of people have said I should go on TikTok, and I don't know. I mean, at this point, I've been kind of holding off more than anything because I keep expecting it to get banned. And right now, I think it might actually happen. Yeah. I mean, honestly, this is going to affect a lot of performers because TikTok has become one of the de facto, this is where I promote myself and make a living methods. So I don't know. It's going to be the fallback is it's going to be interesting. It is going to be an interesting time next year. So I'm going to see how that affects people, and we'll go over it. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that to you, to throw it out, just to let you know that it should be on your radar in case you follow TikTok. So let's go ahead and talk about the fairs coming up this weekend. There are a few, believe it or not. And surprisingly, some in the north. Like I mentioned earlier, I was really surprised by that. So let's jump on that. And yeah, let's go ahead and yeah, I think I got the laser pointer there. There it is, yes. Okay, woohoo! We're going to start with Yuletide at the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair in Manheim, Pennsylvania. This is at their fair site, and this is the last weekend that they're doing it, the third out of 3 weekends. So it'll end on December 15th. Then jumping a little bit over, wait a minute. No, that's, huh. I think Ohio, actually, that one ended, so skip that one. That shouldn't be there. Jumping down to Florida, we have the Orlando Renaissance Festival, which is in weekends 2 of 2 in Orlando, Florida. So this is at the end, and that's, ends on December 15th as well. Jumping over to Texas, we have the Yuletide Village season. Oh, that's Ohio. Gosh, okay, I put these out of order. Okay, Yuletide Village Season of Lights is at the Ohio Ren Fair. I've got this. Okay, sorry, just put them way out of order here. So we'll go back to Ohio and say that weekend 3 out of 4, so it has one more weekend. It's going on till December 21st in Waynesville, Ohio. So that's going on. Then in Texas, we have the Yule Viking Festival in Gladewater, Texas. And this is weekend 2 of 3. So they're going on again until December 22nd. So I have a little more time there. And I know a few performers at this one, so I'll be listening to find out how it went. Jumping down to New Braunfels, Texas, we have the New Braunfels Renaissance Fair. This is weekend 2 of 2, so it's ending this weekend. And yeah, again on the 15th. Then jumping over to California, we have the Yuletide Medieval Festival in Lakeside, California, weekend 2 of 2, so it's ending this weekend. And that's it. So a lot of these will be over. You'll have a couple of Yule festivals finishing up. A Yule Festival in Ohio finishing up, and then the Viking Festival in Texas finishing up for the weekend after, but that's it. So we'll see how much I have the following weekend. That should be interesting. Definitely not boring. Okay, so there you go. And we're back. So yeah, that definitely an interesting time with some good fairs. I know this year has been a very odd year for me. Back in 2020, my plan was to really go crazy with booking. I used to joke that this is the year of Andrew, because I'm going to go and I'm going to book like crazy and get as many gigs as I can. I've got this. This is going to be great. And I got a new PA system in February, and it was wonderful. All ready to go. I started booking St. Patrick's Day gigs, and then COVID hit really bad. And it kind of just put the year away. I jumped on this, Life's a Fair and Fair Life, and Gathering a Fair, and all Shakespeare reviews and all these other things. But yeah, that kind of went on for a few years, and gradually the fairs started coming back and started getting back to the gigs. And it's only really been about this year that I've finally started to get back to it, to where I was really trying to book more and get back to that same level. And next year, partly because, the landlords from where I lived in Austin sold the place, so now I'm on the road full time. It's really inspired me to book even more than I planned, so I'm really working hard to do that. Right now, I'm trying to fill up about 46 weekends next year and book it. A few of the performers I talked to last weekend said, wow, that's pretty ambitious. And I'm like, well, you know, it's not just finding a gig. I also need a place to stay. So it's really easy to inspire you to kind of do that, to go and get a gig. So, well, now you know where you're staying. Otherwise, it gets a little up in the air, and that's not comforting. Yeah. Yep, you're not wrong, Nancy. Yeah, it really was. But I think everything's back, at least for me, kind of back to that point. And this coming up year is going to be the final test on that, to see how I like it and how much I can book and how it'll go. I think it's going to be an interesting time. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So that's a little bit about last year, this past year. And yeah, I think next week I'll talk a little bit about what's coming up the following year and what to expect and what I'm planning. And yeah, try to get a good song in there too and show you a little bit about what I'm working on. Should be fun. But for now, I guess I will go ahead and call it there because frankly, I guarantee you I'm going to sleep hard tonight. And I recommend all of you do the same, if for no other reason, because, well, without a good sleep, you can't have a fair life. That's one thing I've learned, and I hope you've learned it too. Take care. Have a good one. And remember, always enjoy and take care of yourself. And I'll see you next week. Bye.